Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Beneath the Lift Tower. My name's Charles McGilvray. As always, I'm joined by Jess, Kevill and Simon Stacey. We're a fans podcast for fans by fans of Northampton Saints. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
Good. Yeah, not the ideal result of the weekend, was it?
No, it was black. I was a bit
Still recovering from the cold and wet standing on the side of the pitch at Sarries, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about the overhang of the flight back from South Africa, but they literally looked like they stayed in South Africa, didn't they?
Yeah, not good.
I think ultimately it's one of those examples where we've seen it a few times where they just don't seem to be quite mentally at the game. I mean, like the amount of mistakes that they made was really, really uncharacteristic. And you're looking at really exceptionally talented individuals just like dropping the ball. You know, the number of times we got stripped in contact, the number of times they just dropped passes under the high ball was a disaster, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The wind, that wind was awful, though. But that's why Sarries. I didn't get why we didn't play that way second half, because they just booted everything at us because the wind kept getting caught in the air, and then they just kept tapping it back. We didn't use that, so I didn't understand that. But yeah, it is what it is. Some days they don't turn up. That's the way this team's playing at the minute. One day amazing, next day absolutely awful.
Yeah, I mean that game plan is just Saracens to a T, isn't it? You kick to compete, and then you get someone up to try and knock the ball back. You don't even go to catch it. You just knock it back to your team, and they do that regardless of the weather. So in those conditions, when the ball was moving so late, you could see players getting underneath the ball, getting ready for it, and then it just suddenly zooming off to one side and then being out of reach, sort of thing. They definitely their approach definitely suited the game better than what we were trying to do. I think.
Yeah, I know they've got to rotate players, but I still think we should have gone full strength. I know those lads are still capable, but you saw when Dingers and players like that came on, the team did change a bit, didn't it? But it's Saracens. You got to go full strength for Sarries. I don't care what anybody says. And it proved it. They literally totally outplayed us first half. And I've never seen Dawson so angry. They showed a clip of the dressing room. He was going at them proper hard.
Yeah, that was weird. It was that Gloucester game all over again, really. Like, just nothing was coming together. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of people already kind of like writing off. I don't think it's like the whole prem is a write-off necessarily yet. Like, I think we're 20 points behind first and second. I think that's gone. I think, to be honest, they're so much better than everyone else that, Bath and Bristol like a cut above. But we're 10 points off of fourth. It's 2 games. At the moment, anyone has beaten anyone. I mean, Saracens literally lost to Newcastle whenever that was.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's necessarily a write-off in terms of top 4, but we don't currently deserve to be there, or we're not there. Like my kind of feelings coming away from the games, like we didn't deserve to get that bonus point, but it's a very good thing that we did, obviously. And we kind of put a few spells together in the second half. I still wouldn't have said it was good. So we got kind of lucky, really, that we got that bonus point, which might end up being really crucial because that's now 10 points off of the top 4 instead of 11. So it would have been kind of 3 games away rather than 2. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but at the moment it's a struggle to see.
Yeah, somebody on social media, I'm not going to take away their credit. I can't remember who it was. Worked out the points that finished 4th last year. I think we can only lose 2 games the rest of the season to match that total. So that's going to be some going. And the fact is, as well, we're below Harlequins, I think, and they're 4 points ahead of us. Exactly the same wins and losses. The bonus points have cost us, obviously, clearly. They're 4 points ahead, and they've lost and won the same amount of games.
They do reckon that they do think the threshold for top 4 will be lower this year, though, because of how close it is between everyone kind of below. That they're expecting that the kind of number of points that you need to reach that maybe is not going to be as high as it's been in previous years. And like I said, 10 points, 2 games, like there's every possibility currently to turn that around. But we've got to get ourselves on a winning streak like now. Like, that Newcastle game now becomes so crucial to get 5 points out of that, to get that out of. So, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but like I said, the top two, like that kind of chance of having like a home semi-final, if we even were to get there, is realistically gone. 20 points behind this soon into the season. But it's just, like you said, I think it must just be a hang-up of I think you mentioned it, Charles, like that week. It's not even necessarily the flights or anything like that. It's like the mental kind of draining of that entire experience obviously kind of caught up to them a little bit. But for how long is it going to be an excuse of, oh, this week the performance was bad because of XYZ? And when do we actually just admit that at the moment the consistency is completely gone, and it's either a very, very good performance like the Bulls, or it's a really bad one like Gloucester and Saracens? And at some point there's got to be questions as to why there's that huge disparity between the two levels of performance that we're putting out.
Yeah, I think I'm of the view I don't think we're a contender in the league this year, if I'm being honest. I think it's about now getting something out of the league. We need an enormous run of games of wins. That's without shadow of doubt. We need to go on a significant run. But the thing is, I don't think all season the performances have been there. And I think you look at the Bulls game, and the performance was gritty and hardworking, and there was a lot of good out of it. But there was also a lot of things that went our way, a lot of luck that went our way in terms of the Bulls mucked up and gave us opportunities. They should have scored a few more that they didn't. Whereas you look at that Saracens game, and I mean, I've never seen a game where the bounce of the ball is so unlucky half the time. Like, it was I know it's a plastic pitch and everything, and you can't let the ball bounce, but some of the bounces were just like at right angles. They just physically they didn't make any sense. The ball would be coming down from one direction and go back the direction it came in. Yeah. And everything went our way. The Ben Earl try, that Sinti goes through, he hacks it, completely slices it, and then that slice puts him when he goes to pick it up, puts him on a perfect line to then pop it up to, I think it's Willis, who then passes it to Earl. Like, the bounce of the ball went really bad for us in that game. Whereas against the Bulls, the luck probably went our way.
It's the worst pitch. It's the worst pitch in the Premiership. You can see all the rubber on the top of it. It's horrible. You saw Mitchell wearing skins for that reason, because of the burns.
Yeah.
But I actually thought that try you're on about was forward. They looked at it, but the Willis pass to Earls looked forward to me. But we can't. Yeah. We got outplayed.
I feel like what some of the difference was there in terms of like the Bulls, that some of those mistakes that the Bulls made were as a direct result of us and the pressure we put on and the defense, and it's just non-existent over the weekend, really. And I agree, like sometimes the ball of the bounce of the ball, you just don't know what's going to happen. But there are at least two I can think of in my head where we let them bounce when it was just so obvious that you shouldn't let them bounce. There's no reason to let them bounce. There are a couple there that were easily catchable. I mean, one that led to, I think, one of the the Fergus Burke try, where one guy just let it bounce in front of him and then it was gone. And I was like, there's no reason to have let that bounce. It wasn't a difficult one to catch. So sometimes I understand, sometimes, you need to let it bounce because it's not possible that you're going to catch it. But there are a couple that we just left for some inexplicable reason, and then it bounced straight into their hands, and you're just like, what are you doing? And we were just uncharacteristically bad under the high ball as well. I don't know if it's... I was questioning during the game the merits of having Hendy at fullback over Ram, and I think he got caught out multiple times. Now, he's played 15 before, so he's not completely new to it. But for me, when you've got a game where, and we talked about it last week, a kicking game is going to be a huge part of it. You need someone at 15 that's good under the high ball, and that was Ram over Hendy for me. So I don't see why their positions weren't swapped around. Like, that's not enough. The whole performance was bad all round, but it just felt like if you're going to pick who's better under the high ball to have at 15, it's not Hendy. So that felt odd to me. But it's not. Like I said, it's not what lost us the game. It's just he's I don't know if it's, and maybe just Hendy was having an off game, but he looked very much out of his depth and got caught out a few times. So I would have, if it was me, I'd have just put Ram there simply because the ball was going back there and he maybe would have had a better shot. But I didn't say Ram had a fantastic game either anyway, so who knows really.
I think it's that mental side of things, isn't it? Like they're just none of them seem
Mm.
so switched on and have that sort of aggressive nature of right, the ball's in the air, I'm going to go and win this. It was all a bit passive and a bit. They didn't really go up. They didn't attack it enough. Whether it's a confidence thing or whatever, I don't know. But they weren't there. Sort of, they weren't. They didn't seem like the team that went out and grasped wins.
Yeah.
It's maybe that's missing Furbank because he's a phenomenon in terms of grabbing momentum in games and grabbing, pulling things around. But like you said, Andy, Ram, Freeman, all class players, but none of them seem to really control the air, control the environment. They go and take control of those moments when you've got to get up in the air and claim the ball. They sort of, were a bit passive about the whole thing, and then gave them momentum to Saracens. And they came with this kicking plan, and a lot of the grubbers through. We didn't really seem to have an answer for that. And we didn't think on our feet. It's like they did it again and again, and we didn't really plug that hole. They just kept doing it and getting a lot of success from it. And then some of the bounces of the ball was just
they're used to playing on that pitch, though, aren't they? I know they can't predict every bounce, but they know if they kick the ball a certain way, it will bounce a certain way. So they're used to it. But like Jess said, we said it when we were picking the team. I would have picked Ram at 15 all day long. Hendy on the wing, because Ram wasn't in the game because we didn't have the ball. Just seemed pointless leaving him out on the wing. If I'm honest, you may as well have played Seabrook or someone like that because he's there to catch the balls and he wasn't there. So I didn't get that, but that's why we're not the coaches, I suppose. Is what it is.
Yeah. What about the rest of the team? What were performances like amongst the forwards? So
I thought we were good in the pack. I just thought the ref, not blaming the ref for the result, but he was bloody awful again. Some of the scrum penalties he gave against us were a joke because their scrum kept going in and down, or they engaged early. Yeah, the forwards. Yeah, it was an off day for everybody. To be fair,
I think
it's just awful.
I think it's a weird one. Pearson dropped the ball about 3 times because he's holding it in one hand, and I was like, 2 hands. Just when it isn't going your way, like hold the ball in 2 hands. And I think I know the pressure seems to be getting to Coles a little bit. I saw at least once where he was shouting at one of his teammates. I think it was after the ball was left and the bad bounce led to one of the tries. And he just, I couldn't tell who it was. If it wasn't his eye line, but he just shouted at someone. So you could tell, the kind of the pressure and what was happening was kind of getting to them. And then it just makes it worse when you start to get annoyed at each other, when you start to panic. It just makes the problems worse. But I think I wouldn't say that anyone really stood out. I think if I was going to pick someone, maybe Manny. I thought defensively he tried his hardest. Like some of those hits that he put in were absolutely humongous, but it was just an off day all round. I think we got, like I said, we managed to claw that point, which could end up being really crucial as we go later on in the season. And so there's a positive to take out of it, I suppose. And yeah, I don't know.
Manny obviously,
we don't really know how to. Yeah.
Manny obviously went off injured as well with a lower limb injury.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it, that bloody pitch. That just seems to be the norm. You play on that pitch, you almost lose a player a game with that lower limb injuries. So I really hope that's not serious.
They even had Liam Williams limping around at some point. So their own players are not immune to that pitch, even if they do train on it more often. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, there's enough talent in there that we should and could have been able to win that game. And like I said, those little snatches where we played really well in very tiny parts to kind of get those tries. It's if we'd done this for 80 minutes, it could be different. But I also felt like we got lucky. It was a humongous scoreline anyway, but it could have been bigger. That Saracens got over the line 2 or 3 more times and chalked off for genuine reasons, like an offside and a knock on or whatever. But just lucky that score wasn't an insanely big score at the end. We managed to claw a little bit back, and so it wasn't this massive gulf that could have been really, really bad at one point. But credit to certain people. Litchfield, for example, his break that essentially set up one of the tries. I actually think Freeman didn't do very well in terms of controlling the air, but I thought he was trying really hard to get us some front foot with the ball. And that was pointed out by the commentators of like he was trying to drag everybody along with him as best as he sort of could. So there's a couple of people in there, but then I don't know if I've ever seen Freeman necessarily be bad. So I think he tried his hardest, but it's really difficult when the other 14 people are just so off their game that you can do so much. So yeah, I mean, you take that first half performance, you think I'd have snatched your arm off to have taken a point away based on the first half performance. Obviously, it's disappointing all round, but if someone had said you're down 24-0 at half time, but you come away with a point, would you take it? I'd be like, yeah, definitely. Like, based on how that was going. So, there's a sliver of something to take away from it. But overall, no, they're going to be very disappointed. And like I said, I've never seen, I think Tom May was commentating. He said, I've known Dowson for 20 years and I've never seen him that angry. So.
It definitely worked, didn't it? Because Freeman scored that brilliant try where he ran through about 4 players. But I also I did think Mitchell, I know we were crap, but I thought Mitchell played pretty well. And I do think, there's no disrespect to Sarries, I think they're a bit disrespectful not letting him walk out. Because that was his 100th start for Saints. They normally we do that at the Gardens, we let their players walk out, don't we? So just to celebrate their 100th cap or whatever it is, their 100th start.
I suppose they did have
but they had
clap or something for Tom Boyce, obviously.
Yeah, and I think and also they
player walk
so
out.
I think I was going to say maybe that's why they didn't do it, because Nick Tompkins was walking out. Whatever his was. It was just kind of a loss. Again, no, Mitchell's kind of in the same vein as Freeman for me. Like, he definitely wasn't playing bad. Like, did everything that he possibly could to try and do what he could, and I still think is making, is telling everybody why he should be first choice 9 as we head into the Six Nations. Hoping that nothing happens to him before then. But I also think that. Yeah, but I also think that Van Zyl as well had a really, really good game as a 9. He bossed the game in a lot of areas, and he left a couple of players there, like Hendy, for example, just in the dust as he kind of ran down the touchline. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we think if we think forward to like Newcastle, that game becomes absolutely humongous now. Like it's. I mean, the only thing I can think of is, we're kind of going in as a bit of a wounded animal, and that can sometimes be really dangerous. So there's every chance we could get a really good win there. But then Newcastle are also kind of a wounded animal as well. They got a couple of wins, and then they lost quite heavily to Bath at home. So it'll be interesting what happens there.
You know what it reminded me of a little bit? It was Coventry where you two went and got absolutely soaked?
Yes.
It was windy, awful weather. Saints tried to play their normal game, didn't have any ball. You can't play that game if you don't have any ball. So just write it off as an absolute awful performance. We're lucky to go home with the point and just move on to Newcastle, which is technically an 8/10 pointer, because we're not that far away from them, which is quite shocking considering we're champions.
Yeah.
I think the big difference and what you want to see is you want to see ownership, don't you? So I think Mitchell was taking ownership of the game, trying to make things happen. Like that Tommy Freeman try in the build up to the game, he must have had like 4 carries. Obviously then the pick up from the breakdown and went through and scored the try, etc. So straight after time, obviously Dowse had given the rocket at half time, but he came out and stood up and really took ownership and trying to make things happen. And I know you've got to do it within a system and whatnot, but you need players who are going to try and go out there and own the moment, own the aggression, and really put an impact on the game. And I think they're probably the players that actually did that. I think Pollock did it when he came on. I thought McParland did it when he came on. I thought both of those were really good impact into the game. But yeah, I think, like I said, let's look ahead to the Falcons game. You'd hope it's going to be a completely different mindset, but it's also a really dangerous position to be in, isn't it? Because they really didn't turn up to that Sarries game. They have to turn up to the Falcons game. But Falcons, there's a risk of underestimating a team that are actually incredibly improved.
Yeah.
Normally with Newcastle, I was thinking that it's like no disrespect to them as a team, and that they are occasionally putting some good things together with some of the performances. But typically, you think of them as a team of you can rotate slightly. If you need to rest someone and you need to bring some people in, that's normally the team when you're playing them at home that you kind of think you have the luxury maybe of doing that for. And I don't think we have that luxury this weekend with where we are. I think it's a case of we have got to get the win and we've got to get the 5 points. And I'm not sure if we have any choice other than to go as full strength as we've got, just because of where we are. And that, again, that really does depend on the emphasis that they're painting on the league this year. You'd like to think that it's still in their plans to get into the top 4. It should be, as champions. So it'd be interesting what they do, because like I said, sometimes you might see a little bit of rotation happening there, but I'm not sure that we have the luxury to do it. I think we've got to go full strength because we've got to get a win. But it doesn't mean that is necessarily what they're going to do. But if you think that we had a couple of people like Slightholme was on the bench against Sarries, so was Dingwall, so perhaps you start them then against Newcastle and just get them in and get them going. But yeah, I think it becomes a really important game because it's a really, like you said, it's a dangerous position to be in, and it's a game where we could slip up and we can't afford to slip up.
I don't think they'll take them lightly now. After that absolute butt kicking at Sarries, they're going to literally be fired up. They won't be complacent. They'll be ready for it. And if they're not, they need their roles questioning. The whole squad do, because if they can't come out and beat Newcastle, which are a better improved side, as you said, Charles, but they on paper, there's not many people on that pitch. I would have swapped for Sarries players, to be fair, on the day. If you give me an option, and they just outperformed us. But yeah, if we don't beat Falcons at home in a sold out Franklin's Gardens just after Christmas, yeah, there'll be more than a few Fs fired into them by Dowson, I reckon.
I suppose we've got to look at it as not just the Falcons game, but also the Bath. So we've got back-to-back home games.
Yeah.
Where I suppose that gives us an opportunity to build momentum, doesn't it? Like, if we can beat Falcons, beat Bath, go away to Paris and get a result there, and then beat Munster at home, then maybe that there's that spirit back in the team. That sort of that would really set them up as a momentum. But this has been the Sarries game was a big dent, I think, and I suppose you can write it off saying the emotions, the travel, whatever from Pretoria that come down from that is significant. So maybe they can write that one off, but they've got to go strong. They've got to get performances over this next 4 games. But if they want to eat to the top table of Europe and be considered a top team, there's 4 games here. They need to win all 4, I think.
There's no way they should have been. There shouldn't have been a come down from that game. They were on a high, mate. They've just been to South Africa. We all said it last week. They're all like right at the top. They've just done what not many teams have done. They tend to come back. I did say I was a little worried, didn't I, about Sarries last week? You've got to focus on Sarries and the travel. But if they can't use that victory to then G themselves up to go and play Sarries, what are you meant to do? Because that's one of the greatest victories in our history.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think if you gave me the 2 options of the 2 results, I'd have taken the Pretoria one. But the shame is they didn't back it up right, and champion teams back up results. But I think we're probably all in agreement to some extent that this side this year isn't a champion team. We're not there yet.
No.
And I think this is sort of demonstrating that. I think the players have all the ability and the character to get back there, but I think it's going to take a year to sort of get there. And I think Europe is a real great opportunity to string a few runs together, and I think we could go further in that than we have the Prem, because week to week backing it up is hard, and that's what the top teams do.
Yeah, I'm not going to single any players out. Not trying to anyway, but I'm just saying here, I don't think Coles is a 6. I'd be moving him back into lock and playing a back row of back rowers, because that did not work. That did not work again. I'd play him in the second row, bring Pollock on, play Pearson at 6, and big Augustus at 8, just because you need a back row, especially the way Sarries play. I know we're not going back to them, but at the breakdown, they're in your face. And Coles I'm not trying to bring back old players, but he's not a Courtney, is he?
No, he's not. But I think he's a really good player at his best. He's not maybe at his best at the moment. And you look at the strengths in his game, they are different to your standard lock. So by having him in the 5 position, you probably lose a bit of that violence and aggression that you get with his typical second row. So against Saracens in those conditions, going big And I think that obviously that was their mentality for Pretoria as well, to try and match size for size.
I get
I
it there.
don't think we'll see it against Falcons. I think we'll see,
Yeah.
maybe Angus or Pearson and Pollock, etc. Then Cole's back into the second row.
I did understand it in Pretoria because they've got their players are massive and they literally their pack is what they dominate and their line out. So I got why you played 6 because we got three locks basically.
Yeah,
But at Sarries, I would have had Pearson, Pollock, and big Twig down there just to have a back row that can compete at the breakdown. But it was what it was.
I think what it showed as well is the importance of Pollock in this side. Like
for a 19-year-old kid, it's just mental, and it's we just need to be careful not to overdo him before he's like his head pops because his potential is just never ending. But it's one of them you don't want to push it because it can sometimes counterproductive, can't it? But he seems to be loving it and riding the wave, so long may it continue.
It just adds a bit of energy and a bit of aggression and a bit of fight and snapping.
What we missed. Yeah. We haven't had somebody like that in the pack for years. Somebody with a bit of like every ruck, every scrum in someone's face, pulling their collars. Like, come on, then. Do you know what I mean? That's what you need.
I think we did have that with Laws and Courtney, to be honest. Courtney and Ludlam, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
listen.
But we I think in this side, I think Pearson's still sort of finding his feet into some extent with those things. I think Augustus doesn't. That's not Augustus's game. But yeah, Gus gets through a lot of work, but he's not that in your face type of player. And same with Angus. Whereas Pollock adds a bit of snap and a bit of bite. Yeah, it's silly to say, but he's almost vital for us at the moment. But you don't want to overplay him. You need to give him time to develop and stuff. I think Pearson went all right against Sarries, but it was just silly things like the amount of times we got stripped to the ball, like for a few players, not just Pearson, a few players, like that's unforgivable. You can't take the ball into contact and just let them take it off you. Like, you've got to protect the ball. That's rule 101 in rugby, isn't it? Like, they shouldn't be making those errors at that level.
It was poor. Like Jess said, a lot of them are carrying one hand. If you go into contact one-handed and a player comes in and just does that, he's going to rip it straight out your hand, isn't he? So
particularly a team like Saracens who were aggressive up front from literally second one. And like the commentators have said that they are aggressive and they are going after them and they are going hard. I was like, don't run into that with the ball in one hand. Like, just not today. Not when we already lost it lots of times. Like, and we're not getting the ball. Like, you need to protect it. And it just didn't feel like that was really happening. But hopefully that will be different. Hopefully that'll be different this weekend with, like in front of a crowd and a home crowd. Sorry. And it said, I mean, I still think that getting those winning the next 4 games is definitely a possibility. I mean, again, I can't think of what commentator it was that said it, but they were like, you write Northampton off from getting into the top 4 like at your peril. Like, so 10 points really isn't a huge turnaround. And if we can get wins of the next 2 games, we become right back into the conversation. Like, it literally is not that far off from all of a sudden we are back into that kind of contention or into that talk of who gets into the top 4s because of how close it is between everyone else.
It's only 10 so if the teams above you don't lose. So
no, 100%. Yeah, I'm not saying
10 points over the next 5 or 6 games. That's the problem.
No, it definitely can, but you're giving yourself a shot, aren't you? A shot that
we've got to play.
We wouldn't necessarily. Yeah, that's when we still have to play all of them. So at some point, someone above us is going to lose a game, and if we can be the one that gets the win, that gap is easily closable. I don't doubt that for a second. But like you said, it's the performances. We've got to get those performances together. And yeah, I agree. I think they should have been able to use the high of that kind of Bulls win. But like you said, we aren't them. So we simply don't know what that took out of them on an emotional level, like what it left them with. Because sometimes it can be just as emotionally taxing when something really amazing happens, as well as when something really bad happens. So it's really hard to kind of judge that performance and whether that is something that's going to continue to happen. So that's why, like I said, the next 4 games are huge from that perspective as well. It's really going to show us who Saints are this season. I think they said that next run of games, 2 in the Prem and then back in to Europe where we're top of the table is either going to be the making or breaking of us in terms of how the season may potentially go. I still agree. I don't think we're a championship winning side this year, but top four is still a possibility. And even if top four you don't get any further than top four, it's still not necessarily a bad thing to say you were in the top four or you did get to this certain level of the European Championship, whatever it is. I think these next 4 games are going to be what tells us, what team we are this season, whether it's one who is going to be able to compete or one that simply isn't.
Yeah, I think it would have been handy if the fixtures were switched.
Yeah.
If we'd played Newcastle after that, even if they'd played mediocre, I still think we could have. And then you've got a week back in England and play Sarries. I think it would have been. I know we can't switch it, but I think that would have been a lot better. And I think we probably would have won both then. I just don't think the lads were. They just looked like they'd left everything in South Africa.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? Like last season, all the fixtures and everything seemed to sort of work best for us. Like that, everything dropped at the right time of the year. We had the Newcastle game when we were missing 7 players, for example. The everything seemed to work and the order of things was perfect for us. Whereas, if that doesn't happen, then it makes a big difference. And without wanting to look past the Falcons game, because it will do that at our peril. But if you look at that Bath game, if we can't beat Bath at home, we can't win the league. I think we're not a good enough side to win the league.
Yeah.
So you're right. These 4 games now are massive, and if we can get some wins, then I suppose the season remains up and high. Right, but anyway, let's get some predictions. What do we think?
I'm going. I don't know what the weather's going to be like because I haven't looked it up, but I'm going for Saints are going to need to show the fans that they're ready. I'm going to go 43-20.
Okay. Jess, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think we can put 40 points on them. I mean, we're not Bath, but Bath did put 40 points on them away. And I think we're more than capable of that in front of a sellout crowd. Just depends how much Christmas dinner they've eaten, maybe. That'll be the excuse if they've all had too many roast potatoes. I'm going to go 45-18.
Okay, similar then. Very similar. I mean, they do have Christmas Day off this year, so that's dangerous. I think they're not even training on Christmas Day this year, so who knows? They might have a few too many mince pies or other beverages. I think I reckon could be more. I reckon 50-10. I reckon I don't even see Falcons scoring a few tries. I think we'll be pretty strong for them.
Their wingers, mate. It's their wingers, though, isn't it? They've got some quality wingers, and they are playing well. They are playing as a team better now. But I can't see them. I'll see them scoring at least 3 tries.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think the strength of Newcastle at the moment is their home performance. They're taking them up to plastic pitch in the northwest in miserable conditions. I think is a big factor for them. But I think we'll be too strong for them.
It's supposed to be between 5 and 9 degrees and cloudy. No rain, apparently.
Which is pretty much bang on. That's bang on what you want, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it all depends on that wind chill factor because that seems to be the thing at the moment. I'm still chilled to the core from Sunday.
I'm still cold from the Cascade.
Yeah, I've never been so cold as that Cascade. That was outrageous. But anyway, thanks everyone much for listening. It's been another good conversation. Have a very Merry Christmas to everyone. Thanks very much for listening. I've been Charles. Jess has been Jess. Simon's been Simon.
Goodbye and Merry Christmas.
Ah!